Hello everyone. In this last week of the course, I'll cover all the extant punctuation marks, that is, those that we still use, and point you to some course resources that describe extinct punctuation marks, along with punctuation marks that some people would love to see come into regular use. We need to take punctuation seriously because excellent punctuation demonstrates our command of grammar and style. We punctuate to reveal the structure of our writing to our readers. Clear structure can help to clarify the meaning of our writing. Punctuation also helps us to control the pace and rhythm of our writing. You need to learn how punctuation marks reveal structure and, in doing so, clarify meaning. Learn to use specific marks in an informed way. Study sentences in well-punctuated prose to learn the particular marks. Construct your own set of guidelines for punctuating. Punctuation should be there quietly doing its job, consistently indicating connections between words and ideas. It should be noticeable only to punctuation vigilantes. Hemingway apparently never used the semicolon, but he doubtless knew it existed. Mark Twain once sent his publisher a page of punctuation for his editor to insert where needed. Oscar Wilde once spent a morning putting in a comma and the afternoon taking it out. The overriding principle is consistency. Each punctuation mark should convey a signal to your reader. You can have a grammatically incorrect sentence that's perfectly punctuated, but you can't have an incorrectly punctuated sentence that's perfectly grammatical. Punctuation marks in writing can indicate where a speaker would pause, but they do not necessarily always coincide. Spoken and written language differ in form. Writing isn't merely written down speaking. Speaking conveys meaning through vocal quality, tone, pitch, volume, pace, pauses, emphasis and rhythm. The only time that you'll need to insert punctuation that mirrors spoken communication is when you write speeches for administrators and politicians. Punctuation can be crucial to understanding. In World War II, many Dear John letters, which ended relationships, were sent to those serving in the armed forces. Do you think that this is a Dear John letter? Dear John, I want a man who knows what love is all about. You are generous, kind, thoughtful. People who are not like you admit to being useless and inferior. You have ruined me for other men. I yearn for you. I have no feelings whatsoever when we're apart. I can be forever happy. Will you let me be yours? Gloria. No, that's not a Dear John letter. Is this a Dear John letter? Dear John, I want a man who knows what love is. All about you are generous, kind, thoughtful people who are not like you. Admit to being useless and inferior. You have ruined me. For other men I yearn. For you I have no feelings whatsoever. When we're apart I can be forever happy. Will you let me be? Yours, Gloria. Indeed, it is a Dear John letter. There are four main types of punctuation marks: stoppers, linkers, intruders and intoners. Stoppers include the full stop or period and the comma. Linkers include the semicolon, colon and the dash. Intruders include the comma pair, dash pair and bracket pair, and intoners include the exclamation and question marks. I'll cover some of these in this lecture and the remaining ones in the next lecture. Other marks are the apostrophe, the hyphen, quotation marks, the slash and the ellipsis. The full stop or period is used to signify the end of a sentence and to make certain abbreviations, but you need to check these because usage differs. Here's Jessie Kornbluth quoting Isaac Babel. No iron can strike the heart with as much force as a period in exactly the right place. That sentence appears in a short story called Guy de Maupassant, which is appropriate because that is exactly how de Maupassant wrote. Sentences that advance the narrative, paragraphs with punch, Stories that stopped on a dime. The word comma comes from the Greek word for a cut or segment. Commas have many uses. They're placed after an introductory sentence element. However hard I try, comma, I still can't get everything right. They prevent overreading. The trip had been fun, comma, for her frame of mind was always good heading off for a holiday. Can you see why you need a comma after fun? They separate main clauses. The steering was stiff, but the car cruised like a dream. Notice one of the fanboys there, but. They substitute for the word and between adjectives in the shiny silver coin. They set off non-essential information in our car, a red sedan, won. The comma handles separate the description of the car, which is not essential to the sentence. Now we come to the Oxford or Harvard or serial comma. This is used before the final and or in a series. That is, when you have at least 3 items. The group Vampire Weekend even have a song about the Oxford comma. Remember to check your grammar, spelling and punctuation. Jane bought books, coffee and milk. The commas separate the 3 items in each of these sentences. Robert Ritter, author of the Oxford Guide to Style, enthusiastically endorses the Oxford comma, which has been part of Oxford University Press style for more than a century. He says that it's commonly used by other publishers in the UK and forms a routine part of style in US and Canadian English. Unfortunately, Stephen King doesn't seem to know what it is. In a recent interview with a reporter for The Atlantic, which you'll find listed in your course resources, she asked him, "Oxford comma? Yay or nay?" King said, "It can go either way. For instance, I like Jane bought eggs, comma, milk, comma, bread, comma, and a candy bar for her brother. But I also like Jane raced home and slammed the door, because I want to feel that the whole thing as a single breath." There's no call for the Oxford comma in his second sentence because there is no series. You must have at least 3 items to use the Oxford comma. Be careful not to misuse commas, although you might get a free beer as I did, if someone compiling a menu puts a comma in the wrong place. Northern Reef spotted cod, comma, beer, comma, batter, comma, chips. Don't put a comma between a subject and a verb unless you insert other words. The cat, comma, sat on the mat? No. No comma needed after cat. Cats, who are friendly creatures, love milk. Those comma handles are fine. Make sure that you have both handles though. We use semicolons to separate closely related independent clauses. To write is human, to edit is divine. Here's Stephen King again in his wonderful book on writing. I hope he doesn't mind that I have substituted a semicolon for the comma in his original sentence. Please put it in the trash can. That's good news for everyone. There was great excitement about this semicolon when it appeared on a message board in New York City subway stations. We also use semicolons to punctuate detailed lists that have internal punctuation. Remember to check your grammar, especially agreement of subjects and verbs, your spelling, especially tricky words like liaison, and your punctuation, especially your use of the apostrophe. Pancho Villa allegedly said, "Don't let it end like this. Tell them I said something." We'll consider this in the second lecture this week. Only 2 things in life really matter: dark chocolate and light chocolate. The part after the colon adds further information. The dash gathers a series of thoughts, comments on the preceding text, or expresses an afterthought. There are 2 kinds of dashes, the M dash and the N dash. We use the M dash to gather up the subject or object of a sentence when either consists of a long list, Consider the sentence, mild sweetness, creamy centre, made in Belgium. My criteria for confectionery are steep. Take care never to use more than one or one pair of em dashes in a sentence. The en dash is used unspaced in spans of figures and expressions relating to time and distance. For example, 1950 to 2014. A comma pair is used to mark a parenthetical element in a sentence. In situations where brackets, parentheses, would be clumsy or slow up the sentence. For example, I would have ordered calamari, so long as it was fresh, but it wasn't on the menu. A pair of em dashes is sometimes used to mark off a parenthetical element in a sentence. This is called a dash pair. An example of this is, we knew that we, even with our training, were no match for them. Parentheses, round brackets, are used for material that wouldn't ordinarily fit into a sentence, but which you'd like to include regardless. If they're in the middle of a sentence, then the first word isn't capitalised, nor is there any full stop. If the parentheses surround a full sentence, then it is punctuated as normal. For example, 7 sailors of Madagascan origin were hired for the voyage. Compare this with, we then travelled to Omsk. Recall that Omsk is a city in southwestern Siberia, where recall is capitalised and there is a full stop after Siberia. Square brackets are not used very often. They're used to add information to quoted language. For example, they went from there to Magdalen College at Oxford University. They're also used when adding sic to a quotation. Sic means thus and is used to ensure that the reader knows that a mistake is not yours, but is a faithful quotation of the original. The writer of Gladstone was a man of great importance couldn't spell importance. I'll cover the remaining punctuation marks in the next lecture. In the meantime, there's a punctuation exercise for you to do below.